Our next mineral is iron. So I'm in the kitchen, and the reason I'm in the kitchen is because I've got meat here. I got two different kinds of meat, and with iron, one of the things you think of with iron is hemoglobin, and but hemoglobin is its primary role in the body. But I've got some beef here, and this beef obviously is a very dark color, and the dark color in meat is primarily from myoglobin, and myoglobin is another iron-containing protein, and it's a good dietary source. So, scientific name for iron obviously is iron. The chemical signal there, Fe2+, shows the form that's the most bioavailable. So when you think of, when people talk about ferrous or ferric iron, the Fe is the abbreviation there. So, and you'll also notice it's lost 2 electrons, so it's Fe2+, and again, that's the most bioavailable form, and I'll come back to that later on. So, main functions of iron is they make what are referred to as iron-containing proteins, and the one that's most notable is hemoglobin. So when you think of a red blood cell simply a bag of hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is a globular protein that contains iron. The iron's needed to allow that protein to carry oxygen. So that's hemoglobin. The other one's myoglobin, and myoglobin is an oxygen storing protein. And myoglobin, again, back to our meat here, myoglobin is what makes dark meat dark. So dark meat is the best form of iron. And incidentally, iron, if we go back to this, iron can become oxidized. And so oxidized, that means losing an electron. So if iron loses an electron, it would become Fe3+. And when iron gets oxidized, it's no longer can be absorbed. It's no longer bioavailable to the body. And that's why the iron in things like dark meat, it's protected by the protein that encapsulates it. And it prevents it from getting oxidized. This is a picture of what hemoglobin looks like. So it's a globular protein. It has 4 subunits, 4 protein subunits, and each one of those subunits contains an iron atom on the inside. So that's what gives it, the protein gives it its protection, and also lends the oxygen carrying potential of that. So right next to this dark meat, I have chicken breast, and the chicken breast is obviously a great source of protein because it's very low fat, but the lighter color indicates that it lacks myoglobin like the dark meat. So although chicken breast is a great source of lean protein, more fattier meats that are darker are going to be better sources to provide iron. So main functions of iron, it forms the oxygen carrying proteins, hemoglobin in red blood cells, myoglobin within darkly colored meats. So if you don't have enough iron, you get a different form of anemia, which is actually the most common form, iron deficient anemia. And the name iron deficient anemia kind of tells you why you have anemia. So if you remember back to the B vitamins, if you don't have enough B6, B12, and folate, you can get anemia because you're unable to make new red blood cells. If you don't have enough iron, it can mean that you have a red blood cell with inadequate oxygen carrying capability. And so that's called iron deficient anemia. The manifestation of that would be primarily fatigue. So good food source, just like I have in front of me. Darkly colored meats are the best food source. So a dark meat like you would get from beef is much better than a lighter colored meat. I don't have a sample of it here, but even like chicken thighs, for instance, have a lot more darkly slow twitch muscle fibers in the thigh, or even drumsticks. So that darker color is going to be a better food source. So iron, so a bunch to remember: hemoglobin, myoglobin, the deficiencies, iron deficient anemia, which would cause fatigue, and good food sources, meat. But for the vegan, last thing, you can get it in a variety of different sources. For instance, spinach is a great source of iron, but like we said at the beginning, the problem with a spinach leaf is that it's exposed to oxygen, and it can be oxidized from Fe2+ to Fe3+. So remember vitamins A, C, and E, they're the antioxidants. If you were to eat, for instance, a spinach leaf that had iron in it, but could become oxidized, if you ate that iron containing spinach with an antioxidant, it helps preserve the iron. So good sources of iron.